Baby boy Owen Porter Lunt is here! We were patiently waiting for him last week, and it seemed like it took quite some time. But looking back, I just needed more reminders that he will come when God wants and needs him to. He will come when it is his time and God's time. He knows best, and he did come at the perfect time. That is for sure. We decided to take the DART train up to Malahide Castle. We had been wanting to see it for a while. I got to see it with Kevin's parents, but Kev and Mom hadn't had a chance, so I thought it would be perfect for them to both see it. We first planned to see it with Kev and got rained out at Hoth, so decided to head home and get dry. We planned to see it with Kev and the fam when everyone was in town, but went to Hoth first and because of the weather, then decided to call it a day after, because we wouldn't make it to the castle in time. So a few failed attempts, and the third wasn't the lucky charm, or at least the charm we planned for. On the way up, I felt a little bit of some small cramps. They were about 10 to 15 minutes apart at first, maybe. Not sure exactly what I was feeling. It got up to 5 to 10 minutes apart within a half hour to an hour, though. I was timing them secretly because I wanted them to see the castle, be distracted from it all, and just not have all the attention focused on me and something so small. So I kept quiet until we got to the castle, and I couldn't walk very fast at all when a contraction came. Then Kev noticed it pretty quickly and was helping. Then my mom knew what was happening when I really couldn't move during a contraction. This is around noon. Kev went in to get tickets for the tour while my mom and I headed for the bathroom. I sat on the toilet having to poop, but also feeling worse pains than some of the worst cramps I have had before. I figured this part of labor, they say, is about 8 to 10 hours, so we better stay at the castle and distract ourselves for a while. Every contraction that came, I made a decision to cut the trip to the castle shorter and shorter. First it was, oh, we can stay and have lunch and walk around the gardens. Then it was, oh, well, we will just do a tour and then lunch. Then it was, well, we came all the way up here, we have to at least do the tour. Then it was, I'll stay and walk around while you guys do the tour. Then it was finally, nope, sorry, we have to go now. Kev and my mom went ahead inside to do the tour, and I walked over to a bench where no one was in the trees and attempted to be calm. The contraction came as soon as I got to the bench. I couldn't even sit. All I wanted to do was be on all fours, aka look as awkward as possible in front of everyone. I even thought, hey, I could go behind in those bushes and no one would see me, even though they all could and would be able to see me clearly. As the contraction ended, I felt like I was going to throw up everything inside of me. I even had the yucky taste and paste in my mouth. That's when I texted Kev and was like, sorry, we have to go now. I just want to be home and do all this in a comfortable place. I was no longer in a state of being presentable in public. While my mom and I attempted to walk back to the road, Kev ran inside to see if he could get a refund for the tickets. I told him to, no worries. I was to the point that when a contraction came, I could barely even walk. I couldn't tell how fast they were coming though, because they were give and take with intensity and frequency. Nothing like what I expected, or what they tell you. I didn't even know what stage I was in, or how long I had to go before the baby came. We looked up the train time, and it wasn't going to come for another 30 minutes. Then we wouldn't be home for another hour. It's a good thing your body knows what you need, because if we waited another hour and a half, then I would have been dilated pretty far and dying. So we decided to take the taxi back to our place. I debated in my mind if we should just take it to the hospital because they were pretty close together, for sure under 5 minutes. But I figured if we went to the apartment first, we could get everything, take some time out of being at the hospital and be distracted somewhat. We hopped in the taxi, and I could definitely feel them coming harder and faster. The driver, I'm sure, as my mom says, was beyond the awkward stage. It was about a 30-minute drive back. Didn't think it would be that pricey, but it was. Oh well, we got our castle refund tickets if you want to count that for anything, and we are freaking having a baby. Who cares about the price of anything at this point? I'm in pain, and that is what we have worked for 9+ months. This is when you throw your frugality in the ocean to be lost forever. I think I about killed Kevin's fingers. Pretty sure I popped a knuckle or two just to get him back for all the times he has popped my toes, and it hurt. He got home and contractions felt like they were coming every 2 minutes, and I could for sure not stand during them at this point, let alone control the pain. I thought for sure I would get pain relief as soon as possible once we got to the hospital. Well, we finally got everything packed. At the time I thought it was taking forever, but little did I know what was to come at the hospital. We got a taxi, and I was already using the vocal breathing. It felt like some time to get there. At this point, I was basically just holding on until the next moment. I felt I had to know what was coming next. My mom was mentioning that the taxi driver was like flashing his lights to go around cars and so on. Pretty impressive and funny. Very considerate and kind of him too. About 2 p.m., we made it to the hospital and I jumped out of that car, but didn't make it very far at all before another one came. Again, I couldn't stand during a contraction at this point, so Kev had half the bags and my whole body weight. That means about 5 bags in Kevin's arm and the other 5 in my mom's. Sorry, love, but he did so well to help me. Every time we went there for an appointment, I was always expecting to see at least one woman in full-blown labor and pain, but I never did. Well, I got the honors of being that woman. Embarrassing, but you know, when you are in that much pain, you think about it for a second, and then you could care less for the next second. Some nice passerbyers got to help us out, though, and got us a wheelchair. So kind of them. We didn't even make it into the doors of the hospital, so this was all in the parking lot. We got upstairs to the labor and delivery room. A nurse that was not too kind was helping us at first. I truly think we got her for a reason, though, to be very grateful for all the people who helped us out the rest of the day. After the nurses switched, we got Claire, a little kinder and more patient with us. She helped us understand how was the best way to handle the pain, how to stay calm and controlled. She checked me and said I wasn't in labor yet, and had not been dilated at all yet. I knew it was a slight lie, because Dr. O'Connor said I was at 1 centimeter at the appointment, and I was clearly in some stage of labor because of the contractions. I was pretty mad after that and felt like a wuss. Not in labor, and I am screaming in pain. Something doesn't seem right. So she said, I will check you in 2 hours and see where you're at. She helped us to the shower room and basically the waiting area to go back into the labor and delivery room. We spent the next 2 hours in the shower with the ball, on all fours on the toilet and moving around. Both my mom and Kevin were there to help out, which was very nice. I don't know how I would have done it otherwise. Remind you, this was like a high school bathroom stall with 4 other bathrooms in there, and we got the handicap stall with the shower, luckily. This was for the next 2 hours. Claire came in here and there to check on me. She was very kind. She kept me updated on what was next and how long I had for the next thing. About 10 to 15 minutes before the 2-hour mark, I was starting to feel more and more of the feeling to push. By the time she was saying, let's move to a bed and check you, I was pooping like crazy in the shower and on the floor or wherever I was. At least I felt like it. Not sure how much was coming out at that point. About 4 p.m., she took me into the room, checked, and said I was only 3 centimeters. I think this was, of course, a complete lie. We then worked our way to the labor and delivery room. I had to stop a few times on the floor to brace the pain. She didn't give me a wheelchair, so I was crawling on all floors and stopping in the middle of it. I looked like the biggest idiot in the floor. Once we got to the delivery room, I continued to ask how soon I could get the epidural. It took longer than I wanted, of course. Somewhere in this time frame, Kevin told me I was fully dilated? What? When did that happen? This is why I think they were kind of lying to me this whole time. All I could think was they are no longer going to give me this epidural because it's too late in the stages. But they said they still would, and it's coming. I think it took about 45 minutes to get. So this is about 5 p.m. I think the anesthesiologist was on call because she gave it to me in her street clothes. But it also seemed like she took her sweet time to get it in. I was all in a daze, though, from the pain, so I couldn't really measure. It seemed that from the time I got to the hospital to the time I got the epidural, the pain and height of each contraction was about the same. It didn't really get any easier, of course, but it didn't increase in intensity. It was just all freaking painful. I was trying to maneuver to deal with the pain in this room. It felt awkward, of course, but on all fours seemed to be the most comfortable. At one point during the contraction and while pushing my water burst, I wouldn't call it a break so much, more like an explosion. Kev said it reeked. Sorry. He says he almost gagged on this and all the poop too that was coming out. They had me use some of the gas, so to say, to relieve some of the pain until the epidural got put in. I didn't want it at first because I had heard some bad stories, but after a few no's and a few more offers from the nurse, I said, whatever. She didn't really give clear instructions of how to use it. so I just inhaled it for like 10 breaths, and it hit pretty hard and pretty fast. I felt loopy, tingly, and totally lost. I hated that feeling. It didn't really relieve much pain, a little, but barely took off the edge. More, it made me distracted by trying to forget about what was going on. Didn't realize you were only supposed to breathe it in when you feel the pain. Oh well. Once I could feel the relief from the epidural, I was totally loopy still. I was trying hard to open my eyes and stay awake, but still couldn't. I was trying to communicate, but still couldn't really. Weird and sucky feelings. There was great help in the room, though. One nurse in particular, named Sarah Whelan, was there from start to finish. She reminded me when I was freaking out and couldn't breathe to breathe in and out slowly. She was very communicative and helpful. I appreciated her support immensely. I remember the moment Hugh O'Connor walked in the room. It was clearly a sign of progress and that this baby was coming soon. I felt much more relief and much safer. He got called in, of course, and was on call for the weekend. Blessing from Heavenly Father. You've put a lot of trust into your physician for 6 months, and it all just seems better after you've built that relationship and are actually able to see the fruits and blessings from a long-awaited birth. Lots of gratitude and thoughts for him, and especially for Heavenly Father, placing him in our lives. Wish we could have all our children with him in Ireland. After Hugh walked in, all I could remember was what the nurses and Hugh watching the baby's heart rate monitor. I didn't really understand or know what was going on. Just seemed like they were getting things ready and waiting for something to happen. Learning afterwards that his heart rate was dropping, and they weren't sure why, but just wanted to get him out sooner. Before I started pushing, Adri was calling and asking my mom how things were going. My mom held the phone up to my ear, and all I could hear was Alice babbling and talking. Immediately the tears came. It just made reality hit that we would soon be hearing something similar. His cry, his talk, his funny noises, and so much more. It helped to forget about myself and focus on him. It was all for him. It was so he could come here and live a life full of joy, love, and happiness and growth. Because of this and his head size, they had to use forceps and to do an episiotomy. Not the options we wanted, but again, a situation where you trust who you've put all your trust into. 5:44 p.m. After only about 3 pushes, it seemed, Owen Porter was here.
Big felly, he's a top.
All the nurses started making bets on how much he weighed. You got it pretty close on the dot, with 4.25 kilograms or 9.3 pounds. They laid him on my chest right as he came out while they finished a few other things. Then the pediatrician took him over to the table to wipe him, measure him, weigh him. When he was over at the table getting weighed and measured, all I could look at and worry about was him. I wanted to hold him, I wanted him close. I didn't want him to be so far away. Selfish, worrisome, or maybe you could just call it love. We stayed in the delivery room for quite some time. They had to clean up a few more things. We had him latch on for the first time in this room, which was a new experience. A little painful, of course, but not too terrible. After we got all settled, then they moved us to the St. Joseph's ward to our private room. Blessing number 1907, we got our own room. It had my own bathroom, 2 extra chairs, plenty of room, and lots of love for Owen and the rest of us. Side note is, at this hospital, sometimes you can pay for private care but aren't guaranteed a private room. We were lucky. My mom and Kevin stayed for quite some time that night. Visiting hours ended long before we even got to the room, 8:30 p.m. supposedly. We got to the room around 9 or so. We ordered some dinner because we were all starving and got all settled in with everything. My mom was so kind to unpack everything and set it out all where we needed it. So very helpful. She put a soft sheet on Owen's bassinet and got all the diapers and jazz out of the bags for us. Side note, you have to bring everything to this hospital. Pillows, blankets, sheets, diapers for you, diapers for the baby, clothes for you, clothes for the baby, the whole works. My mom and Kevin finally got kicked out by the nurse who gave me some meds around midnight. That was hard and so weird, in all honesty. Just having a new addition to your family, then splitting the family up. As Kevin kissed me goodbye, he said, "I don't want to leave you." Hit my heart real deep. Yeah, of course I didn't want him to leave either. I knew he just wanted to be with both of us, and we did too. For some reason, I wasn't as worried about it when they left, though. I thought I would be more scared. I think it was just that reality had to come, and it had to happen. Owen was asleep when they left, but as soon as they left, he of course woke up crying. I don't remember it being too bad though. He must have calmed down or gone back to sleep, or it was time to feed him or something, but it all worked out. That first night, the nurses came in a lot. I was rather wide awake and didn't really have any desire or ability to sleep. It was still the adrenaline rush from the delivery. But it kind of worked out because Owen didn't want to sleep either. All he wanted to do was eat every 5 minutes, it felt like. He was just a hungry boy, and I think he was still wide awake from the delivery as well. That's all I remember really from that night, so that was good. They left at midnight and were planning to come back around 8 a.m. So I just remember counting the minutes and hours. All I have to do is make it 2 more hours. 1 more hour. That wasn't bad, but just wanted to be with people you love and care about more, and people that care about you. The next day, Sunday, went pretty well. It went by faster than I expected because we told the nurses we wanted to go home on Monday, so they got everything done on Sunday.
I know it's chilly.
Oh, he's a big lad, isn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe playing for Ireland now, won't you? Do with you.
The pediatrician came in, and it was a bit of a shock. Didn't really want to witness something like that. He just tossed and threw and picked him up like an Italian pizza maker. I was like, stop! The pediatrician's personality itself was a little weird as he talked with us anyway, so I wasn't too trusting of him in the first place. But I was so scared. I knew he was checking all the reflexes and strength, but it was still a bit scary. He was screaming by the end, and then he just laid him there and said we could pick him up. It was like, I just made your baby mad as can be, so now you get to calm him down. He gave us a card for us to contact him later and have him as our long-term pediatrician, but all I wanted to say was leave, get away, and never touch my baby anymore. Later in the day, a wonderful, cute, old, short Irish woman came in to do the bath. She was so funny, but so kind and so good with him. Some of her favorite phrases from him.
So like this?
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. And leave it there. And do it. So you can just mind the bars I'm putting down there.
Okay.
And go now on. There's a good. If he doesn't like it on his back, just put him on his tummy because there's no point in upsetting him. He's still getting a good bath. Do you feel safe with him like that? Oh,
Yeah.
or Kevin, sorry. Oh, good boy. Now put your hand under his bum. Oh, Kevin. And then throw him here. Remember who put you in the first bath? Your daddy did. What did your mommy do? Your mommy.
Hugh O'Connor also came up to check on us on Sunday. He is so awesome. We could not be more pleased with the recommendations we received and our choice to go with him. He's very polite and respectful, efficient and kind. So many blessings have come from this. We filled out some forms for his birth certificate from Ireland. How crazy. They took off his tag so we could leave without setting the alarm off. They didn't really care if we had a car seat, to be honest, so we headed home. Paul, our receptionist from our hotel, so kindly picked us up from the hospital. It was a bit unreal. It was my mom, Kevin, me, and baby Owen in the car. Good thing Paul is the most cautious out of all the Irish drivers. I definitely felt my baby was safe. If he wasn't the slowest and most cautious driver, I might have been the meanest backseat driver he has had. When we walked in the back door, Kevin had surprised us with a bouquet of lilies. What? They were stunning, and they just popped more as the days went on. We gave Owen a tour of the hotel room, which would be his home for the next 6 months, and life flipped upside down from then on. You is kind, you is smart, you is important, Owen. We love you.